You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" Maya's voice trembled, not with fear, but with disbelief. She was standing behind the counter of the flower shop she worked at, her apron stained with petals, her hands still clutching a bouquet of fading lilies, when the man in the tailored Armani suit made her the strangest offer of her life. "Yes," said Adrian Knight, the name whispered across business magazines, splashed on Forbes covers, and screamed across Wall Street. "Just one night. Be my date to a gala. That's it. Before we take you into this whirlwind of fake romance, unexpected secrets, and a moment that left an entire ballroom speechless, you need to know this isn't just another Cinderella story. This is a tale about how a forgotten girl and a lonely billionaire rewrote their fates, in front of a crowd that never saw it coming. So stay till the end, because what happens at that gala will break your heart, heal it, and leave you gasping." It all started on a rainy afternoon in Brooklyn, where Maya Jones lived her quiet, unnoticed life. She had grown used to being overlooked, by customers, by landlords, by the world. Abandoned at 12, raised in group homes, and now barely scraping by arranging roses for anniversaries she never had, Maya had long stopped expecting anything from fate. Then he walked in, Adrian Knight, billionaire, cold, charismatic, and utterly out of place in a flower shop surrounded by old wallpaper and the scent of baby's breath. He didn't even blink at the water dripping from his coat as he handed her a business card, black and embossed with gold. "I need a date for a gala tomorrow. It's complicated. You'll be paid very generously." Maya had laughed, assuming it was some twisted prank. But when he returned an hour later in a Rolls Royce, she realized it wasn't. What she didn't know was that this wasn't about money, or appearances, it was about revenge. Adrian's ex, the glamorous and ruthless Eliza Reinfert, was throwing the biggest gala of the year. A showcase of her new fashion line and, more importantly, a parade of her power. She had humiliated Adrian during their breakup, accusing him of being emotionally unavailable and too cold for real love. Now, with every elite eye watching, Adrian planned to prove her wrong, by walking in with the most unexpected date he could find. Maya was perfect, real, raw, untouched by their world, and she had no idea. The transformation began that night. Adrian whisked Maya to a penthouse suite where stylists, designers, and even etiquette coaches awaited. Maya had never worn heels taller than an inch, now she was slipping into Louboutins. Her hair, once tied back with a pencil, was styled into elegant waves. But it wasn't the clothes or makeup that changed her, it was the way Adrian looked at her. Not like a project, not like a prop, but like someone who mattered. For the first time in years, Maya saw herself in the mirror, and didn't look away. The next evening, under the lights of the Crystal Regency Hotel, Maya stepped out of the limo on Adrian's arm. The crowd paused, cameras flashed, murmurs rippled. Who is she? Is that Adrian's new fiancée? She's breathtaking. Maya felt her knees weaken, but Adrian leaned in and whispered, "Breathe. Just be you." She clung to those words like lifelines. Inside, the gala was a palace of power. Celebrities, business tycoons, royalty, everyone was there. And at the center stood Eliza, draped in a gold gown, sipping champagne with the kind of smile that could cut glass. When she saw Maya, her face flickered, just for a moment. Enough for Adrian to notice. But Maya wasn't just faking a role anymore. As the evening unfolded, something shifted. Adrian watched as she spoke to guests with grace, made the stuffiest investors laugh, and even danced with a retired senator. She wasn't pretending. She was rising. And he was falling. Falling for the girl who was never supposed to be anything more than a one-night plan. As the night neared its climax, Eliza approached. "Lovely to meet you," she said with a venom-laced smile. "Where did Adrian find you?" "A modeling agency." Maya smiled back. "No. I work at a flower shop in Brooklyn." Gasps echoed. Eliza blinked, stunned. But Maya didn't flinch. But sometimes, the most beautiful flowers grow from the cracks. What happened next will leave you speechless, but that's a story. Fourth silence that followed Maya's words hung thick in the air, as if the entire ballroom had momentarily stopped breathing. Sometimes, the most beautiful flowers grow from the cracks. She hadn't meant it to be poetic, but it landed like poetry in a room full of plastic smiles and brittle egos. Eliza blinked, her eyes narrowing just enough to betray how deeply Maya's calm composure had pierced her perfectly polished armor. She opened her mouth to respond, but Adrian stepped forward, his hand gently wrapping around Maya's waist. "We should be going," he said, nodding politely to Eliza. "Enjoy your evening." And with that, he walked away with Maya, leaving a room full of whispers, dropped jaws, and the very woman who once broke his heart looking like she'd just seen a ghost. The limo was quiet. Maya sat beside him, her fingers nervously tugging at the hem of her gown, her confidence from moments ago suddenly melting. "Did I say something wrong?" she asked softly. Adrian looked at her, really looked at her, not as a part of a plan, not as someone hired to play a role, but as someone who had just stood her ground in front of 1,000 invisible daggers. "No," he said. "You said everything right." The ride back to his penthouse was slow. Maya stared out the window, the city lights blurring like stars falling. Her mind spun. She wasn't supposed to be affected by any of this. She was supposed to go home, take off the dress, and forget this ever happened. But somewhere between slipping on those heels and facing Eliza, something had shifted. She didn't just pretend to be someone else tonight, she discovered the woman she always could be. And what scared her most, was how Adrian had made her feel. Real. Seen. But Maya was still Maya. Just a florist. Just a girl from nowhere. And Adrian. He was a billionaire CEO with a past filled with scandal, power, and pain. Their worlds weren't just different, they were galaxies apart. Inside the penthouse, Adrian loosened his tie and poured 2 glasses of water. "You were amazing tonight," he said, handing her a glass. "Thanks," she said, avoiding his eyes. "So, what now?" There it was, the question neither of them wanted to ask. Adrian walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, staring out at the skyline. "Originally, this was just a one-night thing. A strategy. To prove something to someone who hurt me. And did it work?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned to her slowly. "Yes. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about her. It started being about you." Maya's heart thudded painfully. This couldn't be happening. Not like this. "Adrian," she said carefully, "I'm not the kind of girl who fits in your world. You and I, we don't make sense. This isn't a movie. I'm not Cinderella." "No," he said, stepping closer. "You're not. Cinderella waited for someone to save her. You walked into a room full of sharks and made them question their crowns. You're stronger than any fairy tale." She looked away. Her hands trembled slightly. "You don't know me," she said. "I want to," he replied, his voice low, sincere. "Not the gala version of you. The real you. Maya, the girl who works hard, who makes beauty out of broken things, who held her own in front of people who look down on anyone who isn't them. I saw you tonight, and I didn't want the act to end." Tears brimmed in her eyes. But she wasn't ready to believe yet. People like him didn't fall for people like her. They didn't stay. "I need to go," she said, stepping back. "Thank you, for everything. But I can't live in a fantasy. I'm not someone you keep around once the spotlight's off." He didn't stop her. He watched as she walked to the door, clutching the hem of the gown like it was her only shield. "Maya," he said, just as her hand touched the doorknob, "what if I don't want the spotlight? What if I just want you?" She paused, but didn't look back. The days passed like fog. Maya returned the dress. She went back to her flower shop, back to arranging roses and delivering sympathy bouquets. Customers came and went. Bills piled. But something inside her had changed. She stood straighter, spoke bolder, and sometimes, when no one was looking, she smiled for no reason at all. Adrian didn't call. He didn't show up. And maybe that hurt most of all. She told herself it was for the best. That it was just one night. That love doesn't bloom in ballrooms. But even her heart didn't believe her. One rainy morning, exactly 1 week after the gala, Maya was arranging tulips when the doorbell jingled. She didn't look up at first. "We're not open yet," she called. "I know," said a voice. She froze. It was him, standing in the doorway, drenched in rain, holding a bouquet of wildflowers, not roses, not orchids, just the kind of flowers that grow wherever they please, unapologetically imperfect. "You didn't come back," she said. "I didn't know if I should," he replied. "But every day I stayed away felt worse than the last. I thought I needed to show the world I'd moved on. But the truth is, I needed you. Not for a gala, not for revenge. Just you." She stared at him, tears already falling. And what happens now? He stepped closer, offering her the bouquet. Now, I ask you not to be my fake date, but my real beginning. The petals brushed her fingers. She took them slowly, still trembling. Adrian, I'm scared. Me too, he whispered. But I want to try. He smiled, and in that moment, amid flowers, raindrops, and two bruised hearts, they began something real. Not a fairy tale, not a fantasy. Just two people, finally brave enough to love. Just when Maya thought the hardest part was over, she found herself walking into a world far more ruthless than a gala full of billionaires, the Knight family estate. It had been 3 months since Adrian had shown up at her flower shop in the rain, and since then, life had been a strange kind of beautiful. They had dates in quiet cafes instead of champagne ballrooms. They took long walks through Brooklyn streets instead of red carpets. Adrian was slowly learning how to live outside the headlines, and Maya was learning how to believe she deserved happiness. But everything changed the moment Adrian said 5 unexpected words. I want you to meet her. Her? Maya asked. My mother, Adrian said. Eleanor Knight wasn't just a matriarch. She was an empire in pearls. A woman who'd once dined with presidents, owned museums, and buried her husband in a diamond coffin. And now, she wanted to meet the florist from Brooklyn who had somehow captured her only son's heart. Maya felt out of place the moment they arrived. The mansion wasn't just large, it was ancient money. Every chandelier, every painting, every piece of antique furniture whispered one thing: you don't belong here. Eleanor met her in the rose garden, dressed in silk and wearing a smile too polite to be kind. Her first words, not, hello, or, welcome, but, so this is the girl who fooled him. Maya blinked. Excuse me. Eleanor's voice was smooth, practiced. My son is a brilliant man. But when it comes to women, he's generous with trust. I'm sure you're enjoying the attention. And the lifestyle. I didn't ask for any of it, Maya replied, trying to steady her voice. But you're staying, aren't you? Maya met her gaze. Yes, because I love him. Eleanor's lips curled slightly. Then let's see how long that lasts. What followed were weeks of subtle sabotage. Invitations that never arrived. Family dinners where Maya was seated away from everyone else. Whispers, stares, rumors. And through it all, Adrian stood by her, but even he couldn't silence a lifetime of family expectations. The final blow came during a charity auction hosted by the Knight Foundation. Adrian's ex-fiancée, Eliza, returned, this time with a vengeance. She had been working with Eleanor behind the scenes, hoping to restore order to the Knight legacy. And in front of hundreds of elite guests, Eliza stepped up to the mic and made a surprise announcement. I'm thrilled to announce my return to the Knight Foundation board, and my partnership with Adrian in our upcoming expansion project in Europe. Maya watched as the crowd cheered, cameras flashed, and Eleanor clapped. Adrian hadn't said a word. That night, Maya packed her things and disappeared without goodbye. What happens next? Does Adrian fight to find her again? Will Maya rise above not just the ballroom crowd, but the weight of legacy and betrayal?